I was very excited to become a mom, especially a mom of a girl. So with this being my first child and my first girl, I was super excited. My family was excited. When the doctors told me that Haley did not have a heartbeat, time stopped.
In January of 2017, Shantae Hennett was a first-time pregnant mom at 32 weeks pregnant. She began having headaches while she and Adrian, the father of the child, were visiting his family in Macon. So they came to Coliseum Hospital, and she was treated in the emergency department there. As she was there, her blood pressures were high enough that it qualified her to be diagnosed with a condition called preeclampsia. And if it's severe, when you're 32 weeks pregnant, it can kill the baby. In Shantae's case, she qualified, and she absolutely had preeclampsia with severe features. Dr. Montlewis did not diagnose her with preeclampsia with severe features. Shantae stayed the night, was there the next morning. Dr. Montlewis came by and saw her, and she discharged Shantae home with the instruction to see her own OB. Dr. Thomas, the OB that was the treating OB for Shantae, did not get the records from the hospitalization, which she should have. She just assumed that it couldn't have been preeclampsia with severe features, or else her patient would have been in the hospital. So she made a wrong assumption.
It was very stressful being sent home, and especially because I explained my symptoms prior to being released. It just really increased my stress levels because I felt something in my spirit was not right.
Dr. Montlewis said the baby was fine. The baby was healthy, and I discharged the patient with a healthy baby. This is not my fault. And the end of the story is that on Sunday, Shantae started having pain and bleeding, went to the emergency room, and they could not find a heartbeat. The baby was dead and had been killed because of preeclampsia. And then Shantae was forced to deliver the baby, knowing that Haley Melandine was going to be born dead. In this case, we filed suit against the two obstetricians who had fallen below the standard of care and whose negligence in combination caused the death of Haley Melandine.
It was very heartbreaking learning that I did lose the baby, especially because it's not like there had been time that went by before I went to the doctor. I was quite literally at the doctor just 48 hours prior to losing the child. So it was very, very devastating. And also because if I was just at the physician 48 hours ago, that was their opportunity to take action, essentially, and they did it.
The situation that occurred that resulted in baby Haley's death absolutely could have been prevented. It was clear if a reasonable physician looked at these blood pressure readings, which were abnormally elevated to the severe range, the guidelines that apply and set the standard of care would clearly dictate that this patient could not be discharged and required monitoring of the baby and the mother until the point that the baby could be delivered safely, or if an emergency developed, the baby could be delivered by an emergency C-section and would have survived, more likely than not.
I was motivated to pursue a lawsuit just because when I was released home after I delivered Haley, the more I sat and thought about it, I know that I'm supposed to have a daughter. And I could have had a healthy, happy baby daughter. And I could have been a great mom to my first child, to my first daughter. But I feel like that opportunity was taken away from me. I came into contact with the McArthur Law Firm just by doing a little research. And then when I met Ms. Kathy in person, I knew for sure that I chose the right lawyer. Kathy and her law firm were extremely helpful. during this whole process, extremely knowledgeable and supportive during this process. They're the type of team that you can kind of consider family. If you have lost a loved one, they're going to treat the case as if they lost a loved one.
As you can imagine, it's very heartbreaking, the loss of a child. And for Shantae particularly, to have to talk about that and what the loss of her child had meant to her, you can't just assume that the jury knows. That was really the challenge of that. And we worked with Shantae. It was very painful for her. It was very painful for me. It was painful for everybody that was involved. This is the highest verdict in the state of Georgia in the history of the state for the value of an unborn child in a medical malpractice setting like this. But it's also the only verdict where the mother received damages for the loss of her child as well as her own injury.
Every year for the past 7 years, going on 8 years, we have built up a shelf with all of her belongings, just as a representation that we want to keep her name alive. We want to keep Haley's spirit alive. I would definitely recommend McArthur Law Firm. They're very informative, very hands-on, very knowledgeable, and they're going to take the time and the care that you need in your case.